Hi everyone! I'm here to tell you today about the project I've been hinting at, and it's what you're looking at on your screen. You might be wondering what is that exactly. So I'm going to adjust a few settings here and show you that this was actually created on Desmos. So if you click this arrow over here, this is just a series of equations that a student put together to make an image. Okay, so as you can see, this is just a line in y equals mx plus b form, which gives those lines that are shooting out of the x-wing here. So for a few different examples, just to get you excited, here is Pepe the Frog and a Starbucks cup, SpongeBob and a jellyfish. So this is going to be your task, is to make some sort of artistic creation on Desmos. Now, it does not have to be this elaborate, but these are some really good examples from former students. I obviously, of course, though, encourage you to be creative and to make something that you'd be proud of. Here are a couple more examples just to give you a variety of ideas of things you could do. Again, it doesn't have to be as elaborate as long as it meets the project requirements, but hopefully you're getting inspired to create something on Desmos. Now, the first thing that has to happen, though, is it has to be something recognizable. Like the Cub symbol or SpongeBob, those are recognizable. It can't just be a random set of shapes or an abstract piece. And I bet you're wondering how to create this, so I'm going to give you a little tutorial over here on Desmos. Desmos is pretty straightforward, but just to remind you, you type in your equations off in this bar here. So if you want to make a line like 2x plus 1, there you go. That could be something in your image. Now, the hard part is fitting it exactly where you want it. So let's go over a couple different things. If you really feel inspired, you're more than welcome to insert an image. Okay, so maybe I want to make this owl. You can insert an image by clicking the plus sign and then inserting an image, and you're more than welcome to trace it. That can be a more difficult option because you have to get it like exactly on that space, but that's up to you if you're feeling ambitious. You're also more than welcome to just type equations in to create an image of your own. Okay, but sometimes you may want just a piece of a graph, not this whole line. So for example, if you look at this guy's arm, the line stops, it doesn't go on forever. Okay, in order to do that, go back over here. Okay, you need to tell the graph where you want it to live, quote unquote. Okay, these curly brackets will tell Desmos that you're going to restrict what part of the equation you see. So let's say I only want it to go from like here to here. So really I only want it to go from like 0 to 2 on the x-axis. You have to tell the equation to do that. Okay, so you want 0 to be your lower bound and 2 to be your upper bound, and you want x to be between those two things. So you want your x values to be larger than 0. Okay, that means greater than because it's facing the x and it's eating it. So now you only see x values that are bigger than 0. But you also want your x values to be less than 2, so you need to tell it that as well with another curly bracket. And now it's cut it off, so you're only seeing between x is 0 and 2. The nice thing about Desmos is if you're unsure, you can just kind of play around with numbers. So let's say you typed in like this on accident. You could say, whoa, I got the wrong piece of the line. Maybe I need to change the way the symbol is. And Desmos will kind of help you figure that out. Okay. You can also do this with the y's if you want, but you have to make sure there's a y in your equation. So let's say I have a parabola, but I reflect it over the x-axis like we learned, and I want to make a sad face. So I really only want this piece though, from here to here. So I only want my lowest y value to be -2, up to my highest y value to be 0. You can tell the graph that as well. So I want my y values to be greater than -2. We'll cut it off there. Okay, and again, let's say you accidentally put this down. You'd be like, shoot, that didn't work. Or let's say I put this down. You want it to be smaller. You can play around with that. And if you don't remember all the equations, that's okay because, again, with Desmos, you can just play around. So I can be like, what did that cubic function look like? Or what did a square root function look like? Or what if I want the line to be really steep? Maybe I want it steeper than that. I'll just kind of mess around with the numbers and get what I want it to be. And that's the whole point of this project, is just kind of explore and play with the functions and, have Desmos help you learn how to do that. Okay, one thing I did not teach you how to make is a circle, because it's not a function, but I want to show you right now. So I'd write this down. So if you want to make a circle, you can do that. Okay, a circle looks something like this. You have x squared plus y squared equals some number squared. So it could be like 9. You're going to get a circle. And you can always shift that up, down, left, or right. As we learned, if you add or subtract something to the x, it's going to move the x, right? We just moved horizontally 3 units. And if you add or subtract to the y, well, it's going to move it up or down on the y-axis. So if I do that, it moved it down 2 on the y. Right, so this is how you always make a circle. It's some x number squared, some y squared, and it equals some number. And you can try to make it smaller, you can try to make it bigger, just play around with those numbers. Okay, you can also try multiplying by the numbers, by a number. Okay, see what happens. Oh look, I made an oval, right? Kind of stretched out that circle based on our transformations. So make sure you write down this formula. You can make a circle that way because it's a pretty popular shape in a lot of different images. Okay, if you're feeling really, really ambitious, I want to show you how to, make those images move like you saw in some of the examples I gave you. In order to do that, you have to add a variable slider. So basically what's happening here as this moves is that the slope is changing, right? You'll see that the slope of this was j, and it has it on this like play button that keeps changing what the j value is. So you can't tell the equation, right, to be equal to 9. You have to say it's equal to an unknown variable. And this happens to be the radius, so I'm going to make it r. And then Desmos, when you put a variable in that's not x or y, will give you the option to add a slider. And that allows you to move the circle. Okay. Now, let's say you don't want to move that part. You can try adding a variable to some other variable. So you could try moving a k here and see what the k, and I just picked k randomly, by the way. And you can see if I add a slider k, what happens. It doesn't have to be for a circle. You can do it for a line too. So you could do like y equals 2x plus 1. We'll go back to that example. But maybe instead of 1, you make it a t. It'll pop up with the option to add a slider, and you'll be able to move that around. And then when this play button shows, that is how you get it to play constantly. You get constant motion. Okay, so if you're feeling really ambitious, that's how you make a slider. Basically, in conclusion, just throw a variable in instead of a number. Okay, honestly, that's pretty much it. So you're just typing in equations. You're restricting the x or y values, so you only get a piece of the equation. Maybe you're adding some movement, but ultimately you're just coming up with an image. I will say the most popular equations people use are lines. So like even like y equals 1, and maybe you only want to see like x value is greater than 4. You can get a piece of that line. It could also be like a horizontal or a diagonal line. So again, that would be like 2x plus 1. Another popular equation is a parabola, because you can make like smiley faces or whatever it is with that. Get creative, butterfly wings, I've seen it all. But you have to remember the transformation, so you can make that bigger, smaller, whatever it is that you want it to look like. Okay, and then the circle that I showed you before. So in conclusion, you are going to make some sort of art. Okay, and you're going to use equations and math skills to do that. I highly encourage you to have fun with it. These often wind up coming out really, really cool if you put some time into it. And I hope you learn a little bit about math while you do so. Have a good rest of your day.